Hello everyone, I'm Chloe Johnson and welcome to this Fresh Business Thinking webinar series, Lockdown Learning for Businesses, supported by BT. Fresh Business Thinking is proud to be a part of Skills for Tomorrow by BT, which is helping 10 million people in the UK make the most of life in the digital world. Working with us and other leading digital skills, enterprise and community organisations, BT has created and collated some of the best advice, information and support in one easy place to navigate. It's easy for anyone to access our webinars as well as discover other ways they or their family and friends can grow their confidence and skills to make the most of tech. All it takes to get started is to visit www.bt.com/skills for tomorrow or by clicking on the link in the comment section. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. We have some very special guests today covering better business banking and protection insurance. Our partner Starling Bank is joining us today to continue their series with their amazing marketplace providers and to cover all of the latest updates in their business banking. Starling is represented today by Guy Waller, their partnerships manager, who will be chatting with Phil Roach from Anorak. Anorak sits on Starling's marketplace, helping businesses work out what their insurance is right for them, both for now and the future. And with that, I'll pass over to you, Guy.
Thank you very much, Chloe. So, hi everyone. I'd like to thank Phil Roach from Anorak for joining me today. To kick off, I'd like to start by introducing this series. For those that don't know, Starling is an award-winning digital bank offering personal, sole trader and business accounts. Our approach to business banking is to give our customers the best possible experience to satisfy their banking needs, but also much more. No place better exemplifies this than our marketplace, where you can connect your sole trader account with a host of great third-party products and services to help with everything from accounting to income protection and everything in between. So we've teamed up with the GBEA to spotlight a few of those great service providers and keep you up to date on all the new features Starling's sole trader and business accounts offer. Phil, it would be great if you could talk us through how Anorak came to be on the marketplace.
Oh, hi, Guy. So hello, everybody. My name is Phil Roach, and I'm the head of enterprise sales here at Anorak. I suppose in terms of the kind of anecdote of Anorak starting to work with Starling Bank, before Starling launched, they ran a hackathon event back in 2017, and it was something that our technical guys were part of, and incidentally were victorious. And as a result of that win in the hackathon, we started working with Starling in their retail marketplace from the very early days. So yeah, it's great to be here with you and support this initiative today. I think Anorak has enjoyed a very, very strong relationship with Starling. At the end of last year, Starling Bank launched its marketplace specifically for sole traders, and Anorak not only sits within this retail marketplace, but also with you in the sole trader marketplace as well. So we're very, very supportive of the initiatives with the GBEA, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you today, Guy.
Thanks, that's great. So I guess to kick off on the first talking point, can you tell me for those that don't know, what is protection insurance and why do you need it?
Okay, so that's a great question. I've prepared some slides that I'll go through today. Many of these will just bring in what Anorak does as a business and moreover how the industry works as such. So Anorak covers within our digital journey. We look at three specific protection insurance products: life insurance, which can deliver a lump sum if you die. We also cover you for income protection. So if you are unable to work for medical reasons, we're able to make an assessment of how much income protection you would need. And we also cover through our process of digital advice, critical illness. So if you were to suffer from an illness that was listed within your policy, you would receive a lump sum payout. So those are the sort of three main products that make up protection insurance. With regards to Anorak as a business, I think first and foremost, we're a technology platform. We regulated by the FCA. We're directly authorised to provide advice, which is, I guess, with some of these products, what we've found historically is that people can find them somewhat confusing. So being able to provide regulated advice is key. And I think we're simply on a mission to make sure that you get the right cover for yourself. Yeah, I think there are lots of efforts that are made in the market that focus around price, but our view of the world is that it's very much about getting the right level of cover for you as an individual. So I'm just going to sort of broadly talk about why we exist, just to set the scene in terms of our business. So within the UK market, the need for protection is huge. Okay, so if we just look at some of the statistics that are up on the slide, I think that this really just will help the audience contextualize, you know, the protection gap, as it's often referred to, I suppose, within the industry. So if we consider that there's 9 million families out there in the UK who have no form of life insurance, and against the backdrop of that, there are 50% of mortgages that are taken out, no form of protection is taken out there. I suppose with initiatives such as the GBEA, where there's entrepreneurs and sole traders that are coming through, those that are self-employed can be particularly vulnerable, and there's around 4 million self-employed that have no income protection in place. So I think, you know, given where we are at the moment in the world with a pandemic, that these types of things really have started to crystallize in people's mind, that having protection insurance really is a great thing. Some of the restrictions that have happened over time is that the process tends to be complicated. It seems to be somewhat outmoded and outdated. So we're very much about looking to service an underserved section of the UK population, but by using technology. So I think if we look at some of the current distribution models and the way that the market tends to operate up until Anorak joining the marketplace, is that there are around, I think 70% of the protection sales tend to happen through independent financial advisors or indeed brokers, and if you think about it, there's only a finite amount of human bodies or protection advisors in the UK, and they clearly can't service all those that need it. So we believe that harnessing technology to scale that through gives much more reach. I think, Guy, when we talked about this in the past, you know, anecdotally, I think I'm old enough to remember when I was growing up that the insurance guys would come knocking door to door, and come round, and my mother would put out the best china, and sit down and have a conversation about the protection requirements. I think fundamentally that type of model of having people visit wasn't scalable, whereas with the advent of technology, it really gives us the opportunity to be able to service a broader section of society. I think we believe firmly that the way that goods and services tends to be consumed has changed dramatically. I think testament to that is Starling's approach to digital banking, and you know we believe in that process as well. And up until now, I think it's been very, very difficult to get any form of sort of automated online advice, and that's very much at the heart of what we do at Anorak. Okay, so I think just as kind of an extension to that point, Guy, I think that in terms of what we tend to see as trigger events for protection, we tend to find that it's very much an emotional purchase. If you know, nobody really wants to consider dying, or you know, being taken ill as such. But obviously, as you have life events or triggers, you may be purchasing a new home, or you may be starting a new family. These type of things really start to take the conversation from protection insurance, which we understand tends to sort of tend to focus more towards the end of the to-do list, primarily for those reasons that we say around that people tend to find it complicated. I think that's very much about what we're here to do, is help, is that we can provide that digital advice or indeed human advice for free to kind of help sort of unpack some of those complexities that you may have in terms of understanding it. But I think certainly what's relevant to the conversation today is that that we tend to find that if you're starting a new career, you may have been an employee at a large organization, you have a great entrepreneurial idea that you want to follow through on, and certainly for those that are sole traders, that they are sort of prime candidates to work with Anorak to find out the level of cover that they may need.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Phil. So in light of what you've just said, why do sole traders in particular, why do you think they need income protection insurance?
Okay, again, I think with regards specifically to income protection, I think, as I said at the top of the conversation, we cover off life insurance, critical illness, and income protection. But if you think as a sole trader, the biggest asset that you have within your business is yourself. So if anything happens to you, I guess the proverbial sort of run over by a bus type of thing, or that there was specific medical reasons that you couldn't work, then that can have a huge impact on your home and your family and the like. So that's why we really would suggest that those that are in that position can utilize Anorak and go through our digital journey to make an assessment of their specific needs and requirements. I think that there'll be many that are part of the GBEA that sort of stepping off into this new realm of being self-employed or an entrepreneur. If you're whether it's being a kind of self-employed barista or a shoemaker or whatever it may be, that's quite a daunting prospect. And having some insurance in place to support you through that process is a great idea. And I think, given where we are in the world with the pandemic, that if business circumstances change for whatever reason, that having protection insurance in place can really help and negate the need to sort of dip into any savings that you may have pulled together as such. I think, on that basis, that here at Anorak, I think what we tend to find is that those that are sole traders really do get the most amount of benefit from income protection as an insurance product to take and look at. And I guess, I think we understand, and much of the research that we've done is that broadly there are many sole traders that I guess they have lots of things to consider, and I guess you'll talk more about the toolkit and things like that in terms of some of those tools that as a business owner you can reach upon. But what I thought I would do is just sort of give some headlines really in terms of what is income protection as such, and explain some of the sort of key facets to how that would work as such. So I'm just going to so yeah, no surprises on this side of things. Anorak can help very much through our digital channel to help you buy a level of income protection for yourself. So what is income protection? I suppose to give some headlines really on IP, or as it's often referred to or shortened to, is that it's an insurance policy that will pay out on a monthly basis should you suffer a medical condition or a physical accident or something to that effect. I think one of the sort of key concepts behind this as an insurance product is what is often referred to as the waiting period. And I think it's reasonably self-explanatory, but the longer that you can wait to invoke your income protection claim, the cheaper the service will be. So obviously, sort of going through our process, we can help you with that. Anorak is sort of digital first, but we also have a number of trained advisors, because I guess we understand that sometimes your personal circumstances may be different to to those around you. So we can advise and help on that, the concept of waiting period and what type of product would be best for you. And then I suppose within income protection itself, that there tends to be sort of two types of policies. Those that are often referred to as short term, and typically they tend to last sort of 2 to 5 years, and will cover you for any illnesses or injuries that you may have over that term. But there are also specific policies that will carry on past that 5-year term. So I think income protection as a insurance product is a great product. I think we recognise on our side that understanding some of the nuances that are associated with it can be difficult for people to understand, but we're very much about helping and offering free advice, either digitally or on the phone through our trained advisors.
That's great. Thanks, Phil. So on to our second talking point for today's session. It'd be really good to hear how the COVID-19 emergency is affecting insurance. And secondly, should you wait to buy cover?
Okay. Yeah, very, very topical. I think obviously the pandemic has affected all businesses across the globe, and I think one of the themes that we started to see in terms of consumer behaviour at the beginning of the pandemic, that it will probably come as no surprise that really in terms of some of the Google Analytics that we reviewed as a business, is that searches for life insurance and income protection and these types of search terms, obviously they went through the roof. I guess what we've seen really is that those things have obviously tempered down now. I think people understand where we are at in terms of the period that we're going through in the pandemic. I think that one thing to really mention is that with specifically on the COVID-19 side of things, is that with levels of income protection, I would say that we haven't seen any changes of price per se. What we do find is that maybe sort of going through the actual process of taking out that policy has maybe slowed down a little bit in terms of the assessment process can be slightly more rigorous. I mean, that said, I think one thing that really should act as a takeaway with any form of protection insurance, but specifically on the income protection side, is the fact that when you take out this policy, because it's a slightly rigorous process in terms of your health and your lifestyle, that obviously the earlier that you buy that in your life, the lower the premium will be. So I think one thing that the audience may start to make comparisons, because I think the word insurance can mean lots of things to different people, but with protection insurance, it's not really like buying car insurance, where you renew on an annual basis and your premiums can go up. Sort of locking in, going through that process now is really a great idea, because you kind of lock that in for a number of years, opposed to the annual review as such.
Great, thanks, Phil. And on to our sort of next talking point. How can Anorak help you as a small business owner?
Again, I think as we've been working with you and those within the sole trader marketplace, typically how Anorak works is that through our digital or online journey, we can provide you with an online assessment of your needs. From there, we can kind of establish how much income protection that you may require. We are agnostic to all the insurers. We are what is often referred to as whole of market, so we get quotes across the board. But we recognise that as a small business owner, you may have underlying health conditions or things where you actually want to speak to a human and kind of discuss those in detail. And I think one of the things that that we are able to offer those with small businesses, we understand that you can be certainly under some form of cost pressure. So using our service as a means of getting regulated advice on your own personal circumstances, we're receiving sort of fantastic reviews in terms of the way that our advisors are discussing those requirements with individuals, and that's testament to the fact that they're very professional and have lots of experience in terms of these types of matters. So yeah, from a small business perspective, I would definitely suggest that utilizing Anorak to carry out almost like a health check of your personal protection needs, really.
Great, thanks, Phil. And in terms of Starling's role in helping small business, I'd say from our point of view, it's about setting yourself up to succeed. So a big part of our mission is to give better banking experiences to business owners and sole traders alike that have been denied it in the past, but they need it, particularly at the moment. They deserve a bank account which helps save time and money, and it goes the extra mile. We know they need better banking and better tools to help them grow their business. So in our Make Business Simple report, we found that sole traders and micro businesses spend 10 weeks a year sorting their finances. The average micro business clocks up 79 hours of work each week, and 15 of these are spent on just financial admin, more when they're a sole trader. That's nearly 1 in every 5 hours, equated to 10 weeks of the year. So it's 10 weeks they're not working on sales or networking or marketing. I guess, what does that mean? So financial admin is holding back growth for more than 500,000 sole traders and micro firms, meaning they need help sorting out the fundamentals. This is where we know challenger banks like ourselves can help, providing a business account which cuts down financial admin by providing smart financial management tools like real-time alerts, spending categorization, real-time payments. One has quick and easy setups from starting the account and setting up payments, has it really exciting integrations with accounting solutions, insurance providers like Anorak to help you and your wider business, and most importantly, perhaps at the moment, a business toolkit which helps sole traders with their invoicing and tax submissions to HMRC, really putting power back in their hands and helping them to get through all of that. I think that concludes the final sort of discussion points, but in terms of, we've had quite a few questions through from people viewing this session. Phil, it'd be great if you could just clarify the difference between and the nuances between life insurance and income protection.
Okay then, Guy, I think with life insurance, I guess obviously the clue is in the name to a certain or lesser extent. Obviously, if you die, there's a lump sum payment that can be made available to your to those that are kind of either your family and your loved ones as such. Whereas with income protection, it's provided on a monthly basis. So they're quite different products, and the way that they work is slightly more nuanced. So again, I guess with that in mind, if you need some help, what better way than to go through our digital journey. As a result of doing that, what Anorak actually provides you with is an assessment of your needs. So we can talk to you if you're looking to cover the mortgage in the event that you die. On the life insurance side, we can also make an assessment on how much income protection that you may need on a monthly basis, sort of taking into account your household expenditure and things like that, really. So that's the fundamental difference between those two types of protection policies or products.
That's great, thanks, Phil. The next question we've had through is, what are the most common reasons why sole traders don't take out income protection? So what have Anorak identified as, I guess, key themes for why sole traders aren't getting protected?
I think with regards to protection insurance in general, what we tend to find is it is a job that people tend to put off to tomorrow, right? I think that there's no doubt in that. And there can be a number of factors that people don't get round to it. I think one of the problems that we tend to identify is that really people don't understand actually how these products work. That they're very useful when you have a good working knowledge of how they can help on your sort of day to day, as a sole trader, for example. So what Anorak is really about is looking to provide a service, a free service at that, of providing regulated advice to help people in not necessarily layman's term, but plain English. We spend a lot of time at Anorak working on using the right language and the right tone of voice, so that people can take what can often feel as slightly opaque concepts, and we try to boil that down into plain English. So yeah, I think that's one of the differences, is people just, as a sole trader, I guess you have other things on your mind as well, but yeah, ultimately we think that we've done a really good job at kind of making it much more accessible to that community.
That's great. Thanks, Phil. Another question we just had through is about how often reviews are conducted. So if a sole trader takes out protection insurance, how often are those kind of terms of that, or the general, the policy they have, how often is that reviewed with either an advisor or someone at Anorak? Is that a continual process?
Yeah, I think fundamentally one of the problems that people that tends to happen with any form of protection insurance is that when you take out that protection initially, that you don't review it. Now, obviously, what we've aimed to do is make an assessment of your needs, and obviously, if your personal circumstances change, and it's to, I suppose, the earlier point that I was making around these trigger events. So obviously, if you have dependents, or you're moving house, all of these types of things are really opportunities to review your level of cover, and you may want to use Anorak as a mechanism to do that review process, or indeed, to take it up with the protection advisor or the protection company that you took out the policy with initially. But yeah, I definitely think that there's more room for improvement in terms of people making a job and sort of going back to making sure that they have the appropriate level of cover given their changes in circumstances, really.
Great, thanks, Phil. The next question we've had in relates to, why do you think it's important for more innovative companies, perhaps in fintech and insurtech, to get the support they need compared to traditional providers? So companies that are innovating like Anorak, why is it important for you guys to be in this space?
Well, I think in Anorak's case, I think that we are looking to disrupt the insurance protection market, which has historically been slow to change. To be quite honest with you, I think my own personal experience is that, having joined Anorak just shy of a year ago, that when I attended lots of industry events, that there is often lots of talk amongst the insurers or the providers about reducing the protection gap. But to be candid, not much has been done in terms of doing that. So I think where Anorak sort of comes into play, that our technology is scalable, right? So we can we have a number of partners, not just Starling, that can share their sort of cohort of users, that we can work together with them through technology, really, to approach them. And we have other partnerships that are working very, very well at kind of making sure that their customers are aware of the benefits of taking out protection insurance, and typically that is by harnessing new technology, right? And that's very much at the heart of our business. We're a technology firm. Obviously, we're looking to crack the protection insurance nut using that, and I think that from a distribution perspective, we can reach a far larger audience than the old days of the guy from Peru coming and knocking on your door and having a cup of tea. I mean, that just wasn't a sustainable business model. But as we've seen across lots of industries, e-commerce, I guess Netflix and Amazon, the way that they are channeling technology has been, fundamentally changed the way that people kind of consume these goods and services, really.
Okay, great. The next question we've had through, probably playing on quite a few people's minds who might be watching, which is around risk, and what are the big risks if if one doesn't take out protection insurance? What's at stake for a sole trader or an individual?
Well, again, I think that those risks will be very personal, right? I think, you know, ultimately, if you have a life event and you know you don't have any form of protection insurance in place, you know, it can be very difficult for your family and close friends to kind of to deal with that. You know, should you die, for example. So on the risk side of things, you know, as we've talked about. I think there's a slight paradox really with protection insurance, is that when we're younger and we feel less susceptible to dying, we're kind of almost the Superman complex that we have, is that our appetite for risk is very different as we get older or we have a family. I think with Anorak, what we've managed to do is that we've actually have a very strong design team within the business who have made sort of going through this process almost seamless and very easy to do. So I think on the risk side of things, you know, what better way to carry out your own risk assessment by going through our process and establishing your protection requirements. You know, I guess there can be scenarios that if you have the appropriate level of cover, that, you know, we are all about advising. So, you know, we're not going to suggest that you take out policies or products that you don't need or aren't fit for purpose. You know, we're very much about we would rather you get the appropriate level of cover than maybe the cheapest, for example. So I think that's a clear distinction in terms of what's at the sort of heart of the way that we go about presenting the information back to our customers.
Okay, great. Thanks, Phil. I guess the next thing that would be really interesting to hear about is if you're able to walk us through how Anarch is able to offer the insurance you offer. So what goes into that journey from plugging into your digital journey and going through and on the other side and finding out the most, you know, the advised policy that you're meant to get?
Okay, that's great. So as I've mentioned, that, you know, fundamentally at the core of Anorak, we've got some pretty bleeding edge technology. We've created a platform that takes in, you know, APIs from very different sources. But I think in terms of the slide that we're showing here, I guess there are sort of three key areas to our process. Now, we can take in data from multiple sources. So it could be from a data partner. So if we look at, for example, how we work with Starling Bank, there is a fair exchange or handshake of data that the customer is made aware of. And in that scenario, you're able to pass some of the fields that is required by Anorak to make up the advice that we're able to give the individual. We also take in data from publicly available sources. So I think most people will be much more familiar with the Office of National Statistics that often gets touted on the news. So that's a component part of how we overlay the data requirements. So essentially what we're looking to do is use information around, I guess, from the ONS data that we receive and some of the NHS data in terms of hospitalisation rates, etc. Is start to build up a picture, you know, of Guy, of the household, and then I suppose where the really interesting part starts to come is that we can we build up a profile of that specific user, and we have built our own actuarial models that are overlaid by that publicly available information and some of those data inputs. And as a result of that, what we're able to do is then go out broadly to the market. We have our own internal database, which is another key feature of what we do. And that database, because we are whole of market, we are looking at all the insurers. It really gives what we do is almost like a sort of apples for apples comparison across each of those insurers, and we pull that into your profile. And then what we send back, we create the actual protection recommendation as an output. to you, and then that will sort of give you the headlines in terms of how much life insurance you would require, how much income protection based on your personal circumstances, or indeed critical illness. We've done some analysis on that, and from our perspective, because we're technology first, we have our own advice platform that is used by our in-house advisors, but we're also able to push that out to our other partners or other sort of technical integrations that we may do. So yeah, I think there's some real clever tech and under the hood that we've employed into our actual digital journey. I think we get some great feedbacks with some of the user sessions that we run from customers or those that have been through it. They tend to find that it's very informative and that they like the language that's used through that process. But I guess really the brains behind it is crunching those numbers and making an assessment of the individual's personal requirements, and that's what we're really about. We kind of tend to find that just focusing on price tends to be somewhat of a blunt instrument, and we believe that it's better to get the right level of cover for you rather than the cheapest, if you will. So that's a real clear differentiator for Anorak.
That's great. So we've had a few questions through about, and very topical, as you can imagine, about the current pandemic, which I know you touched on earlier on. Are there any kind of barriers that this has created, or ways in which it's changed the way that protection insurance is kind of distributed to customers? I know you mentioned that the process to find out what cover you need might be longer. Is there anything else you've noticed operating in the space that you're in?
I think broadly speaking, that we haven't seen an increase in price from the insurers. As I mentioned, I think one of the biggest things that we've seen is that I guess if we went back 6 or 9 months, the pandemic, like people just wouldn't believe that this type of event would happen. So what it has done is that it has kind of focused people's minds that they are potentially more vulnerable than that they first thought. So I think that's one of the things that has changed in the market. I think that people are much more understanding that having some form of insurance that will protect their family and their dependents in the future is no bad thing, right? So we're starting to see those levels of interest start to grow, primarily because of people's understanding that the world as we know it is maybe somewhat more fragile than we thought 6 or 9 months ago, for example.
Okay, that's really interesting. It sounds like the last 6 to 9 months have really, I guess, made people think twice about how protected they are and what they can do to be better protected. I think that concludes all of our questions that we'd prepared. So it's been really interesting, Phil. Thank you very much for your time.
Good. Yeah, again, thanks, thanks for the offer of coming on and talking through about what Anorak does. We're very supportive of working with Starling. I think we're aligned on that side of things. As I say, I think that the key takeaway for me really has been that, those that are looking to become an entrepreneur or sole trader, and maybe that they have some anxieties around what they may bring, is that I really would implore them to go and take a look at our website if you're not a Starling customer, but of course if you're using Starling, to check out the marketplace feature either across the retail side or indeed the sole trader marketplace as well. And take out a health check on the protection side. I think that you'll find it very, very useful.
That's great. Thanks, Phil. I think with that, I'll hand back to Chloe from GBEA.
Phil and Guy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this webinar. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Just like to say, thank you very much, Phil. It's been really enlightening. I think protection insurance is a lesser known subject unless you're quite close to it. So it's been really beneficial. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks, Guy.
Our next webinar in the Lockdown Learning for Business series takes place on Thursday, the 20th of August, with Mark McClure as he discusses how to use loyalty to stand out from the crowd. If there is anything you'd like to catch up on from today's session, we'll be sending out a replay of the webinar coming at 5 p.m. today. You can find the replay and future webinars at www.freshbusinessthinking.haysummit.com or by clicking on the link in the comment section. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you again, Phil and Guy.